Hey, I see a lot of people out there asking about how to preserve a molt. Um, so I thought I'd give a little tutorial on that. I've been doing it for a while. Mine turned out pretty decent. I don't go to all the trouble of pinning them. If you want to get them looking better than what I get them, there's a few more steps you need to take. But without further ado, I will go over the steps. Okay, so here's one I just did. Got out of the water. This is a P. armenia that I got the molt out. It was it's been in there definitely probably close to a week, I'm guessing. It was pretty brittle. It was not a perfect molt, and I couldn't find the carapace. So I had sexed this one before. I'm not going to do a sexing tutorial, but it is a female. You want to look in this area between the book lungs, but I will do one of those eventually. But you want to get it's got to be softened. Most of the time when you find a molt, it's going to be in a state of this, just looking like a spider got all crunched up and left there. Once in a while you'll find them to where they're a little straighter, but usually this is about how you're going to find them. And then if they're dry, you have to get them to be able to move again. They are at this point crusty and very, very brittle. If you mess with them too much, had legs come off, punched holes in them, all kinds of stuff. So you got to be kind of careful. What you do after watching other tutorials is get yourself a dish of water. I use hot water. And then I put just the tiniest amount of soap in there. You get some people that say you're supposed to use more soap than that. I don't think that's necessarily necessary. I've just used a tiny bit. From what I've been told, I don't know the science behind it, but it helps to soften the exoskeleton. So here's a Bumbacabacla molt that I softened just to sex it. I didn't pose it at all, so I'm going to put that in the water along with these other ones, and we're going to let them soak for quite a while before they'll be soft enough to move. In fact, this one, the P. armenia, it was in for about 3 hours, and if the water doesn't get down inside the leg holes, you still have very brittle ends to the legs, so you kind of have to move them around a little bit, and I'll show you that as we get them soft. Okay, so I've got 2 of them in the water now. You can see one of the carapace is actually floating up. I'm not worried about that getting too soft. That's actually in good shape. But you have to hold them down. They will float, so you hold them down. Once the main body gets soft, that's when we have to start moving around to get the water down inside the leg holes. And then we'll be able to bring them out. Okay, like I said, this isn't a perfect science, so while those are soaking, I'm going to show you some of my, they're not really attempts, mostly attempts at just sexing the tarantula, and then I'll pose them. These are not my best. My best are actually in a shadow board, which I can't get to right now because it's at my work and I can't go there right now. But this B. hamorii didn't turn out too bad. If you want to get it a little bit nicer, you put some cotton in the abdomen, stuff like that. You get the abdomen looking a little puffier. But you'll see there's just different states of tarantula molt, little pieces and parts, because again, they are just extremely fragile when they're like this. And I've actually even taken the fangs chelicerae off of the molts and just made cool stuff just with the fangs. So there's lots of different things you can do with the molts once you get them softened and posable. Okay, so they've been soaking for a while, so I'm going to do a test here. Alright, the legs look pretty good. Again, sometimes you gotta get the water down in there, so you kind of want to just give them you can flip them over and try it that way too, but honestly, once they start getting like this, you kind of test the legs. See, they're still pretty stiff. They should be pretty loose. So we're going to just try and force some water into the leg holes. I'm sure there's another way to do this. This is the way I've just done it. and then put it back in the water for a little while. I've even left them overnight. It doesn't hurt anything. They just get soft, and then hopefully the legs will move a little better, and I can show you how to form them. Okay, so these guys have definitely been soaking quite a while. They look like they're able to be manipulated back into their lifelike positions. I'm going to actually get them out. What I do is I take a piece of paper towel, and then it gets ripped in half, and then I will fold it into kind of like a half ball, and I'll show you that. There we have it, and just crumple them up a little bit into a half ball. That's not even, it's just so it has a little bit of a hill to it, as you can see with this one. Again, I'm not posing them with pins. I'm not taking that kind of time. If you want to do that, or if you want to get them laid out completely flat, then don't do this. This just gives them, to me, the legs are curled, so it has a little bit of a natural appearance of them just kind of chilling out on their substrate or their, in their enclosure. It's just an easy way to, as I come over here, display them. Getting the abdomen right, again, a lot of times the abdomens are tore up completely. So we will do that with these guys. I'll get them out. Okay, you don't have to be super careful bringing them out. They're not going to break anymore. Well, at least they shouldn't. So you get them out, and then it's hard to do this while I'm filming. You just start getting all the pieces and parts laid out. Start spreading them around. And then hopefully the carapace is attached. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But I will get him ready to go and show you. Okay, so as you can see, I have spread the legs around. Again, a little more natural looking. You can do whatever you want. If you want to get pins out and put it in threat pose, I mean, when these guys are soft like this, you can put them into just about any position you want to, as long as they have a mold and something that you put them on, that you pin them on, that holds them up, whatever. They'll dry and they will be exactly like that. And just, again, they're extremely fragile, so you want to have some place safe you're going to keep them if you spend that kind of time on them. You can get display boxes, all kinds of things. So what I did with this little guy is, because it's just a little cool mold, I did put a little bottle cap underneath the paper towel just to get it formed up a little bit better. Since it is little, and this will make it look like it more like it's standing up. Next comes the messing with the abdomens. To mess with the abdomens, you need what I use is tweezers, and this is actually like a plastic cell phone tool for changing out cell phone screens. I ordered a long time ago, but it works perfect for setting up these molts. And what we want to do is start to spread open the abdomen, and this is where two hands is going to come into play, but you would have the other tool on the other side and just slowly move down, spreading it open. It will tear. If you want to make sure that you have as much abdomen as possible, you want to be careful because it will tear. Pieces will come off. Again, don't worry about it. If your carapace is attached, you can decide whether you want to leave it attached or if you want to pull it off. For ease of placement, I'm just going to leave it on. It just makes it that much easier. So I'll get these spread out and show you what that looks like. So as you can see, this guy, it is completely spread out, the abdomen. Now this part was, this is just a fantastic mold. This, you can see the top of it usually gets all jacked up. There's the spinnerets, or the butt fingers as some people call them, and then the carapace. This, I mean, it just doesn't get much easier or much better of a molt. This is the kind you want to look for if you did want to stuff the abdomen. You want to take your time, put a piece of cotton in there, fold this part over the top, and the carapace fits neatly on top. basically it's should be as simple as folding it up, folding it up, and then flip the carapace over, put it into place. If you wanted to glue it, you could, and then take the rest of the pieces of the abdomen. Oops. Again, this is where two hands are going to come into play. And then you would roll that over the top. And let me see if I can get that a little bit better with two. Okay, that's about as good as I am going to personally do it. Taking the time, again, stuffing the abdomen a little bit, and then allowing it to dry. Might get a little more realism to it. Gluing down the carapace so it doesn't move around or blow away. These things are super duper light. They're easily broken, and if you walk by them too fast, they'll fly away, especially with the small ones. So you want to have, if you spend this kind of time doing it, working on it, and you stuff the abdomen and you get it looking lifelike, you definitely want to have a safe place to put it. I always tell folks I don't use them to scare people. People do get scared of them when they see them. I use it as a time to educate. I realize it'd make an easy Halloween gag or a joke, but I discourage that. The game is not to scare people with spiders, but to let them know that tarantulas are not the devil. But I understand if you do want to use it for a little fear factor action, have at it. I just usually choose not to do that. So have fun. I'm going to work on this other little guy. You know, again, you can't mess these up. The only thing that can happen is if pieces and parts break off and you still want to mess with the molt, you got to kind of let it dry out and super glue that piece back on. Get the rest of it molded the way you want to. If it dries before you're done with it, or you want to change it, it's as easy as putting it back into that hot water with that little tiny bit of soap in there. The longer you leave it, the more the legs will loosen up. And get some water in there. You could probably even take a little syringe or something and put water down in the legs. Again, there is no real wrong way to do these molt setups. Sometimes they just sit around until I get around to them. Sometimes I don't even get around to them. So have fun. Happy tarantula hobby molt shaping time to you. Take care.